Hello there, my name is Christian Roberts, the youth pastor of the Christian Tabernacle Baptist Church in Hamden, Connecticut, and I'd like to welcome you to the Christian Corner. I am so glad that you joined us this week, because this week on the Christian Corner, I will be sharing my testimony, my story, a little bit about me, and I'm so glad you're here to hear it. So without further ado, my testimony. So I was born on July 13th, 1997 in Norwalk, Connecticut. But I spent most of my life in Alpharetta, Georgia, being raised by my mom and my stepdad. I grew up in a Christian home. I went to church often. I got saved at 12 years old. And for the most part, my life felt fairly normal. But the most pivotal season of my life came in 2015. I was in my last year of high school. I was having fun, enjoying my friends, applying to schools, and counting down the days to graduation. Everything was cool. I remember coming home from school one day and getting my first college acceptance letter. And naturally, I was excited, but things just felt a bit off. But I just kind of continued through the day. And later that night, my mom told me that my grandmother, who was the heart of our family and was definitely the best Christian that I ever knew, that she had died earlier that day. And hearing this was heartbreaking. And seeing how it devastated my mom really threw me off. She was always the one holding everyone else down. So seeing this made me feel worried and unsettled, but I just did my best to deal with it and finish up. And the next few months were pretty casual, mainly doing high school stuff. I got accepted into Morehouse, decided to go there. That was great. Then I graduated. The next day I had a graduation party with lots of friends and family, and it was a blast. Really, really enjoyed that. And the next day I remember I got up, I was laying in the trampoline watching Vines when that was a thing, and I got a phone call. And the number calling my phone was from my good friend Sinclair's girlfriend. And me and her were cool. I'd been over her house with everyone else the night of graduation, so I figured I just left something over there. So I answered, and then weirdly, I heard her sister's voice. I heard Sinclair's girlfriend's sister talking. And her sister began telling me that early that morning, they'd heard a pounding on their door. And when they went to answer, they were met by Sinclair's twin brother. And he told them that Sinclair had committed suicide the night before. And I was just astounded on the other end of the line. I was shook. I was numb. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I just felt frozen. And over the next few weeks and months, people who knew Sinclair and about what happened would always ask me why he did it. Because Sinclair seemed totally fine up to that point, and there were no clear-cut signs that something was wrong. And every time someone asked, I just felt tense and overwhelmed. But over time, I realized that something had happened. I found myself asking God why. I wrestled with my faith for the first time, not because I didn't believe God existed or the Bible or anything like that, but I just wasn't sure how God fit into my life. I didn't understand why things were happening as they were. I didn't get why such a horrible thing would happen to such a nice family and someone that I was so close with, right when I was getting myself together and prepared for my future. And I just found myself wound up all the time, never happy, never at peace. And months went by, and I started college and made friends and did the things that I was supposed to. But I still had so many questions, and I was still so mad at God for everything that I was feeling. Yet, a part of me knew that I needed him to lift through the heartache that I was feeling. And I found myself asking around about a Christian organization on campus that I could join. And this led to me being a part of this program called the Chapel Assistants. And I remember attending the meetings for about a month or so. And every week at the end of the meetings, the president of the chapel would announce that they were having a preaching lab. This forum where people could share these short messages and get feedback. And weeks went by and I didn't think much of it. And then the last week before the preaching lab, the president asked if there were any students who wanted to take this last opportunity to sign up and give a message. And then out of nowhere, I just felt my hand go up. And this was weird because I never wanted to be a preacher. I was never a good public speaker at all. I didn't really know the Bible that well. So like I was confused as to why I raised my hand. But at this point, I knew something pushed me to do it. I knew that it wasn't just me. And for the next week, I felt conflicted because I didn't want to do it, even though I was the one that volunteered. But I just knew that God was a part of this somehow. And I remember praying and telling God that that this was something that he wanted for my life, he was going to have to make it like obvious. Because if I bombed this preaching lab, I was quitting chapel and I was never preaching again. So after like threatening God with that and coming up with the message, I went and preached. And it went way better than it had any business going. And afterwards, our dean asked me when I realized that I was called to pastor. And I was thrown off because prior to him saying it, I had never had that thought before. But in the coming months, I discovered that God had called me. And I recognized that God wanted to use me and my voice and my life to reach and connect with people from all walks of life who struggled the way that I struggled and who had questions like I had questions. And looking back, I realized that this season of my life served as a tomb and a womb. Because I lost a part of myself when my Nana and Sinclair died. And the outlook that I had on myself and my life and of God faded. But God birthed a new sense of identity and purpose inside of me. And he took me from being this naive teenager who was just trying to fit in and set me apart on this journey in my life that would stand out and shine his life. And that's my story.